Wow, we are excited. Oh, I'm excited. I don't know if I can speak on behalf of you, but this is an exciting moment. For those of you who are watching this right now, you may or may not recognize both of these faces that you're looking at. My name is Joe Beckman. I am a speaker locally here in the Twin Cities, but I speak all across the United States. And I had the privilege and honor of meeting Matt Meyer many years back, and over that time we've become good friends, and I've spoken at a lot of events at Spring Lake Park High School. So I get to facilitate an amazing interview with this amazing young woman right here, who I will let you do all the talking for yourself.
Sure. So I'm Adriana Erickson. I was actually a graduate of the 2010 class, way back when.
Way back when?
Way back when.
Like
10 years ago. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I just did the math.
Yeah,
see, like,
yeah, right on,
see?
yeah, right on cue.
Saw the wheels turning, probably.
I currently am an executive team lead at Human Resources with Target. And yeah, so I was invited by Mr. Meyer to come in and have a great conversation with you today.
So we're going to do just that. If you pull one thing out of this, we'll call it a win. My guess is based on what I know about Adriana that you're going to be able to pull lots of things from this. So it's just going to be a conversation. I want her to share a little bit about her journey and a little bit about how she got to this place right now in her life. So yeah, let's start.
Let's do it.
Let's start at the very beginning, because it's a very good place to start.
Sure, yeah.
I want to know a little bit about, sort of give me the Cliff Notes version of kind of your life pre-Spring Lake Park High School. Right?
Sure.
Let's talk about the early years, because I think so often we put ourselves in 9th grade or 10th grade or 12th grade and we think, this is, where we're at right now, but we forget about exactly where we came from and how we got here. And I know that's a really, really big part of your story. So
Definitely.
Talk a little bit about your childhood, growing up, the ups, the downs, and maybe a little bit in between.
Sure. So I was born 1991 in Bismarck, North Dakota. There was a lot of pre-story to that. So my mom is from Juarez, Mexico, and my dad is from Bismarck as well. He met my mom when he was going on a night in the town in Juarez. He was in the National Guard, and he was stationed in El Paso. So him and his friends are just like, let's go across the border. When you didn't need passports at the time, and he was just able to go over there. So he went there, met my mom, fell in love.
Yeah.
90 days later, they got married, and my sister and I were a product of that marriage.
Yeah.
But as soon, before I even knew what having a whole complete family was, they were divorced. So there's my mom, an immigrant into the United States with 2 children, alone. So she did everything she could to make it work.
How old are you when they got divorced?
6 months old.
You were 6 months old?
Yeah, I don't even know my parents being together.
Okay.
So, so when I was younger, my mom, we lived in El Paso, not a very good part of El Paso.
Okay.
When I was in elementary school, I remember this vivid memory of coming home and the door was open. And of course my mom went into mama bear mode and brought us downstairs, and these big fluffy dogs came. Turns out later in life I found out they were there to sniff the house to make sure no one was still inside.
Oh.
Yeah, but I remember the big fluffy puppies and getting to pet them, and the police officers being so nice to us.
Yeah.
But that happened a few times. They stole our video consoles, to play PS1. Back in the day, our movies were gone. So my mom was always playing catch up, trying to give us the best life we could. We struggled a little bit with food insecurity at the time. I never went hungry, but at the same time, it wasn't something like, there's a bunch of food in the pantry, go ahead and help yourself kind of thing. It was always dinners at this time, this is what you get, there's no more, so enjoy it, you know what I mean? So by the time I was in 5th grade, I'd been to about 8 different schools, and then by the time I was in 7th grade, when I came to Minnesota, I went to 11.
Okay, so pre-Minnesota, you had been to 10 different schools. Minnesota was your 11th.
Yep.
Okay, so let's just stop right there.
Sure.
And let's talk about that and unpack that a little bit, because I can only imagine how hard it would be to transition from one school into another school, let alone to do it 9 more times.
I was an awkward kid because I just didn't know how to make friends, you
Yeah.
know? I would be at one place long enough to like hopefully find people to eat lunch with, and then we would move because my mom heard of another job in
Yep.
another city
Yep.
that was paying more money at the time, you know?
Okay.
So then we would go there and start over, so
So
it's
just
hard.
for anyone who doesn't know how challenging that is, to
Yeah.
move into a new environment, like, you know, the students who are watching this,
Yeah.
there's gonna see new people every year that are coming in, and there's probably different situations and different stories, but I
Right.
think everyone can have a shared experience in that it's not easy
Yeah,
to move into a new school in a new environment with new people.
yeah.
As we're talking about leadership, what do you think, one thing, if you could look back, like, what would have been really nice to have, like, at those schools to make you feel welcome or to help you feel included? Is there anything that maybe a student watching now, if they see somebody who's new, like, what's the thing that they could do to, like, reach out and maybe make them feel a little bit more welcome?
Right. So I think it would be the perseverance around if you see a new kid and you go up to them and they brush you off, it's because they're terrified, okay?
Listen to this,
Yeah.
please. It's not about you.
They're
Yes.
terrified. First of all, they didn't expect anyone to come up to them
For
and
sure.
greet them and be nice. So when they're secluded and say, oh my, like, okay, cool, thank you, you know, it's try again at lunchtime. Hey, remember me? I'm from your fourth period. Like, come sit with us.
Yeah.
And I promise that will mean the world to them because
Yeah.
I wish that happened to me.
I bet.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fantastic. So
Yeah.
at first, if you don't succeed, try
Keep
and try
trying.
again.
Yes.
Because sometimes that initial response that you get when you act with kindness or courage or whatever it may be
Yep.
might not on the other end be reciprocated as you might think it would be, but it actually does make a positive impact.
Yes, because when you're going into middle school or high school, you're in fight or flight mode.
Totally.
You're ready for, like, I remember waiting, like, okay, tomorrow's my first day at my new school. I'm terrified. I'm gonna wake up terrified. I'm gonna go to school terrified. I remember I was in school in Las Vegas in 6th grade, and they put me in the wrong class. So when they were reading off the roster, they're like, they had everyone stand up, and so when they read the roster off, you sat down.
Yeah.
I was the last person standing up, and
Yeah.
she's like, you don't belong in this class. And I'm just like, why are you doing this to me?
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
the worst thing that I could ever experience in my 6th grade life.
Yeah.
It was terrible. So you already feel singled out
Mhm.
as a new kid because there are clerical errors that could happen in school
Totally.
that, no one probably remembers that moment, from that one specific 6th grade class in Las Vegas. I remember it like it was yesterday.
Totally.
Because I not only was the only person standing up, but I had to go into another class where they already started class and sit down and be looked at, and no one knows who I am. So it was tough.
So let's flip it on the other side at this
Sure.
point. So very difficult, challenging, no doubt, not an easy process, and there's so many things that we can do as somebody on the outside to make someone feel welcome.
Yeah.
There's got to be something where you look back where some of those experiences taught you something too. What did that start and stop, new school, was there anything that you look back at now and go, you know what? I'm actually a little bit stronger in this area or that area because of this, whether it's starting new conversations or making new friends, or is there anything you look back and go, you know what? As hard as it was at the time, it actually made me a little bit better today.
Well, what I will say is there's always opportunities for new beginnings.
Yeah.
That's something that I learned through going to new schools. If I didn't make friends at the school I went to for 4 months, a part of me was excited to start over again and get
Yeah.
another shot at it,
Yeah.
get another shot of making friends, and that was before Facebook and before you were able to connect with people outside of school.
Right.
If I moved away, like I made a few friends here and there peppered in there, and I don't know where they are today, that kind of thing, but I will say the one thing I did learn is that, like I said, new beginnings
Yeah.
could happen, so.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome. A new chapter
A new
is always on
chapter.
the other side of the old one.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
fantastic. So keep going. So you're now in Minnesota.
Mhm.
This is your 11th school
Yeah.
that you're in, and how old are you? Are you in middle school at this point?
Yep, so I was in 7th grade when I first came here.
Okay, and where
Yeah.
did you start here? Were you in?
I was, I think Westwood Middle School.
Oh, okay. So here in Spring Lake Park?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
So this is where, now you're here in the
Mhm.
Spring Lake Park School District.
Yes, yes.
You're in middle school, and tell me about that.
So I'm excited because the reason I came to Minnesota and was able to have a stable life from there was because in 6th grade, after living in Las Vegas, there was a lot of challenges I had there where I wasn't making friends. I was getting older. My sister made friends. I don't know how she made friends. She's probably just a lot nicer or something. I don't know. I was very closed off and scared, like I had mentioned before. When you're a new kid and that's all you know is just how to be a new kid. I didn't really know how to make friends. I didn't know what the process looked like after you got to meet someone and say hi. Like, do I approach them tomorrow? Like, what do I do? You know? So, like, am I like, will they like me tomorrow? That kind of thing. But when I was in 6th grade, it was the first time I was offered drugs by some girls I really wanted them to like me. And I was like, this is my one chance. Like, I don't know if we're moving from here. Like, there was no plans in the works of moving again. So I was like, I need to make friends. And so when we were hanging out at the lockers one day, they were like, okay, well, we're gonna go and we're gonna smoke some weed. You know what I mean? And it was, at the time, I was very scared of that idea. I never really was around it, like with my family or my mother or anything like that. And my sister was not around it either. So I had a kind of like a decision to make. I could either let them like me and like just embrace what they're doing with them, or in my head, they're just not going to hang out with me if I don't want to do this. So in that moment, I chose not to do it. I mean, and I told myself there's a new beginning down the road. I just know it. Like, we're going to move again. I can do this. It's fine. So I tried to sit at lunch with them the next day, and they didn't want me to sit with them. So I ended up eating lunch in the bathroom for the rest of the year.
I heard that they actually conspired, like talked about it behind their back and went up to you in the lunch line and said, hey, just in case
it was the worst. It was
you think you can sit at our table, just make no mistake about it, you're not with us today.
You can't. And it was one of the messengers of the group that came up like, you know what, she doesn't want you to sit with us. Like, blaming it on someone else, but like they all just felt the same way. And to have a group of girls not want you to sit with them, it was the worst feeling. It was the loneliest feeling standing. I was already getting lunch. I wish they would have told me before lunch, so I would have skipped lunch, gone to the library.
I got my French toast sticks.
Yes,
what am I supposed to do with them?
And my chocolate milk. I can't throw this away. I have to eat it somewhere, you know. So, but after that incident, and after I realized I don't want to keep starting over. I want to go somewhere. Mom, I want to go live with my dad. He's been in Minnesota for as long as I know. We went to see him in summer. So I was a little familiar with the kids around the neighborhood because we would play with them during the summer. So 8th grade came, or no, 7th grade came, and I was in school here. And my mom finally realized, like, you know what, moving around probably isn't good for the girls, so yeah, go live with your dad. We moved in with him, and even though we moved to a lot of schools in my early life, it was always Hispanic areas that we went to.
Okay.
You know, like, just as an immigrant, you usually are just connected to, it was a big sense of community. So we were really close with our neighbors when I was growing up and stuff. No matter where we went, they just embraced my mother. So they embraced us, and I looked like them. They looked like me. They had, you know, same sounding names as me, and, you know, and it was just a cultural thing. And then when I came here, I was not around a lot of people that looked like me.
Not as much diversity in Minnesota.
No, exactly. But they didn't let me forget it. So I would come to my locker a couple times, and there would be, go back to Mexico, like someone was angry about it and just sketching it into my locker, so I couldn't even erase it. You could just feel the metal. I remember that, feeling it, and it was like etched in there. Can't erase it.
That is an insanely powerful visual. Like, you can't erase that. It's like set in stone.
It was so embarrassing. I wanted to cover it. I felt shameful. It was the first time I realized I didn't look like them. I didn't realize that. You know, I never thought of it, you know, and came home, and my dad is Caucasian. He's Swedish. And he didn't understand, because to him I was white. I was his child, and even like when I was, fast forward, like going to college, I was like, Dad, what do I put on my college application? Am I Hispanic or am I white? He's like, you're white, but white. And I felt like that was a lie. You know what I mean? There's no like circle 2 boxes or anything like that.
A little bit of each.
Yes, exactly. And it's just, my whole life felt like I don't belong here and I don't belong here. Because even when I was with my mother, with our family, like, oh, those are the girls that have the white dad. So they're the Americans of our family. You know what I mean?
So we're going to stop once again, because this is just like a pretty important moment that I think we just stop and say, like, are you listening to this? Because my guess is that on the outside, no one would have known, based on how you walked, how you talked, how you held yourself, that you were even close to being as like insecure or terrified, or you felt all this loneliness. But you know, on the inside, you obviously, oh sorry, we should probably, who?
Is that Matt's phone?
No, it's mine.
Oh, I was about to get you.
Let's turn it off. Unless it's my wife, because I might have to take it, because I think if they call you twice in a row, like when you have it on silent, like it's an important one. Okay, so we're going to stop right here because this is nothing short of amazing. There's a really important point that I think we need to focus on, and that's the fact that so often you just don't know what someone else's story is. My guess, and I don't know, is that on the outside, no one would have ever really known how lonely you felt on the inside. But that loneliness was real, and it was prevalent, and it surrounded you all the time. You ate lunch in the bathroom by yourself. You didn't know if you felt connected. You didn't feel like you were part of this group sometimes. You didn't feel like you were part of this group. And all day, every day, that loneliness, that takes a toll on people. And so I just think it's incredibly important to remind ourselves that everybody has a story, and every day we have so many opportunities to make that story a little bit easier or a little bit more challenging, and why not try to go make it a little bit better? Why not make it a little bit easier to deal with? Because, you know, so I don't know, that's just like a side note of just like, that loneliness feeling, I think, is something that a lot of people do feel, and sometimes it's not obvious to the outside person, and yet it really does play an impact. And so, okay, keep going. We're back in, you're talking to your dad about some of the things that have been going on in middle school and some of the racist things that have happened to you. Go from there.
Right, so like I had mentioned, my dad didn't understand and was like, you know what, it's just middle school girl stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just remember not knowing where to go, and my sister actually does, she's very much so like lighter skinned than me, and she's very much like, she comes out, Elizabeth Erickson is her name. My name is Adriana Erickson. Yeah. So I feel like I got dealt the harder card in this. So I very much so look like my mother, and I just will remember for the rest of my life that I wasn't the same, even as my sister. We don't have the same story, you know, because she looks different. She's still Hispanic like I am. She still has the same parents as me, but she had a different experience with school. So as I got older, I made friends. I didn't have a ton of them. I wasn't, you know, the popular person that everyone knew.
Yeah.
Kids were a little nicer to me, or at least to my face.
So now you're in high school, and
now I'm in
like
high school.
Some of the drama and some of that like real negative, like outward bullying stuff has maybe died down a little bit.
Yeah.
So hopefully you hear that and things get a little bit better. And now you're dealing with a different situation, right? You're in high school, a new chapter, right? A new beginning.
Yep.
But my guess is you're not 100% confident in yourself in your 9th grade shoes. Am I right on that?
Right. So I mean, it's just the story we're all fed since we're young is the prince, the star football player. All of these people are born into greatness.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the idea of a leader is someone who has it thrust upon them, and
they're perfectly designed to
made
have
for
the
it.
good looks or the athletic talents or the beautiful voice or whatever it is, that charisma that you need to be a leader, so that when you talk, people listen.
Exactly.
Some people have it and some people don't.
Yeah.
And now you're 9th grade, Adriana, and you're feeling like, I don't have that. Whatever that is, that's not me.
Exactly. It's not going to be me. That's not in the cards for me.
But obviously
it
is!
Spoiler
alert! The story has a happy ending.
Right.
They know because you're here.
Right,
So let's talk about, when was that pivotal moment for you? Where things changed and shifted and a light bulb went off and you went, maybe I do have this leadership thing.
So it was actually in Mr. Meyer's class.
Okay.
I don't remember, was it geography? Okay. So we were in geography, and he would put us in groups of 4 or 3. And he would, I was in a group with a couple of kids that just weren't strong in the educational department. So
Okay.
reading was tough for them,
Yep.
staying focused was tough for them, and I just have been in their shoes. I've been the underdog. So I was right there like, all right, you know what, give him a couple more minutes to read. Like, let him finish his part. We're not going to skip over him because he's a slow reader. We're gonna work through these problems together, and we're gonna get this done as a group. And while other kids are like, just skip him, he doesn't even want to be involved. And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
We're in a group, we're
Yeah.
gonna do this together.
Yeah.
So at that moment, that moment, Mr. Meyer,
Yes.
yeah, Mr. Meyer started just choosing me to be in these small micro leadership roles.
Yeah.
And it just grew from there. I eventually became a Panther mentor, and my mentorship was over the new kids in school.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was a lot of fun because I was in those shoes before, and I know exactly how to reach them and be that persistent person.
Yeah.
I had a mentee who, again, just wanted nothing to do with me, nothing to, like, you don't understand me, and every day, like, how you doing today?
Yeah.
What's up?
Perseverance.
What's going on? Exactly.
Perseverance.
Every day, and it wasn't until I believe the second half of the year,
Yeah.
he started saying hi to me first, and really excited to see me. And at the end of that first year I was a mentor, he had told me, like, Adriana, like, I really appreciate what you've done for me, and you were the one consistent thing I had this whole year. And
Yeah.
it was I think he was even older than me. He was a senior.
Okay.
Yeah, so then that
That's
was
awesome.
also hard though, like, to be a mentor to older people.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was one thing I was able to connect with them on, was the hardships of starting a new school. And I learned that persistence and just staying courageous and being able to pick yourself up from being, I mean, he ignored me some days.
Yeah.
I'd be walking down the hallway and like, hey, what's up? And he would just be like,
Yeah.
like, why did I walk down this hallway
Yeah.
at this time?
Not again.
Yes! So it was really great to hear that, because I told him, I thought I was just super annoying to you. I didn't think you really liked me, but he really appreciated that. It appeared that he had friends because I would say hi, and I
Yeah.
would, invite him to eat lunch if once in a while he would have the same lunch period as
Yeah.
me, that kind of thing, because I know how important it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just know how important it is for people to see you
Yeah.
and notice you, right? I think so often we think as leaders,
Mhm.
it's about the big things that we do in this world, whether it's start a nonprofit or go to a third
Right.
world country or save somebody's life, and all of those things are amazing and important.
Mhm.
But I don't think leadership is about changing the world. I do think it's about changing one person's day. And I do
Agreed.
think we have hundreds of opportunities, like I said earlier, to do that for one person. And I think it's sometimes the smallest things that we do, whether it's call someone by their first name, acknowledge them in the hallway, sit next to them at lunch, or whatever it may be, because we all want to feel seen, we all want to feel noticed, and we all want to feel like we're part of something bigger than just ourselves. And when you go out of your way to let people know that you do see them and notice them, they're part of something,
Mhm.
man, that sparks something in
It
them.
does.
And I think a lot of people are missing that right now.
It's the difference between going home and feeling like you had a terrible day versus going home and being like, you know what,
It was
today
not that,
was okay.
yes, exactly, not that it was perfect. So I think that's the other thing, that I never want anyone to feel like whenever we're making a video like this or any of my videos, is 0% chance am I ever saying this stuff is easy or it's perfect or there's no messiness to it, because nope, that's all part of it.
It's life, yeah.
That's life.
Mhm.
But, you know what I mean? Just like you said, maybe it wasn't perfect, but it wasn't an utter disaster
It'll
either,
get me
right?
through to tomorrow,
Exactly.
so yeah.
That's awesome. Look back, well, we want to continue to hear your story, because obviously there's more to it than that. But I want to stop right now because now you're a Panther mentor in your experience. You're looking back, you're making a difference
Mhm.
on the lives of the students that are in your grade, above your grade, below your grade. Once again, go back to your maybe first year as a Panther mentor. Knowing what you know now, what advice would you give to any of these Panther mentors or yourself as you started stepping into this leadership role?
I would, let's see, that's a tough question. So looking back.
That's my job.
So looking back, I would say, just keep going, keep being courageous.
Love it.
Just keep going. I mean, you have you don't feel like you're connecting with your mentees and you see other mentors that are so much more outgoing, that are on the football team, that have all of these mentees that just want to be around them, and you're not like that. And I feel the most genuine relationships are earned, and I feel like you have to represent the good in people and in the mentor program. And I have a quote that I love. We were actually listening to it on the car ride on the way here. So it's a song called "Follow My Feet" by the Unlikely Candidates.
Okay.
And the quote is, "The high road is steady and steep, and the low road is easy and deep." Mm-hmm. So so while doing the right thing isn't always easy, it's the right thing to do.
It will always be. It's steady. There's a pretty
exactly. So I loved that quote ever since I heard it, and I really feel like that bleeds into my leadership, and just making sure that you're earning genuine relationships with your mentees. Especially, like, I feel like I was an average person. I made average grades. I wasn't on any teams. I was working a part-time job when I was in high school. I had a few friends. I didn't have them all, but I earned with baby steps, saying hi, helping arguments in the hallways, just being a leader every moment you can, and making sure that you're being courageous and stepping into those hard moments where you could just walk away and pretend it didn't happen, or that you didn't see it.
Did you hear that? Stepping in instead of stepping away. Right? Like, I always think of, I use baseball as my analogies with a baseball player, and I just think, for me as a speaker, like, the only way I can ever get better as a speaker is if I get at bat after as a baseball player. The only way I can be a better hitter is if I got up there and took another at bat, and another at bat.
Yeah.
And in baseball, if you fail 70% of the time, you're in the Hall of Fame. And so it's not about always knocking it out of the park, but it's about getting back up, and it's about taking another swing and going back, and knowing that it's going to be a marathon, not a sprint, and that not every group you're going to have the high birds that really want to get into it, and it's going to take time, but through that perseverance, through that challenge, it's the right thing, and that's where the best relationships are formed.
Yeah, and don't give up on those kids that you feel want nothing to do with this program, because I can guarantee you those are the people that will get the most out of it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So from here, now you're graduating, and you're looking back and trying to figure out, what do I want to do with my life?
Yeah.
Now what are the next steps?
So when I was applying for colleges, I'm C, B's, average student, not on the honor roll by any means. I had a second job, trying to juggle that, learning how to be a mini adult.
Totally.
So school just never came that easy to me. So when I was applying for colleges, I went to my counselor and was looking for advice. Where can I apply? What should I do? And she had told me, I told her I wanted to go to the U of M. I wanted to go to the University of Minnesota. She said, don't even waste your money applying, because you won't get in with your grades. Try somewhere else.
Okay.
So I applied to 3 other schools, and I got into all 3. Granted, the one I did go to, I was on academic probation, but I saw that as a challenge. So I feel like I really missed out on an opportunity because I listened to someone who didn't even know me.
Right, and you know what I mean? So like, you had that moment where someone planted a seed of doubt.
Yes.
And there was that same, I feel like with your middle school story, when the girls asked you to do drugs that day, we get these moments where, like that devil and the angel, where you have 2 different voices that are telling us things. And in that moment, and in that experience, maybe you listened to that voice that said, you know what, she's right.
She was an adult.
She's an adult.
Yeah.
She knows what you're talking about. You probably don't have what it takes. Let's not. So now you could regret. But I also know part of the other story where that you flipped that around.
Right.
And
I did.
There was another moment.
Yep.
And we'll get to that moment. But I think it's really important that sometimes right decisions, or decisions you feel good about, are because you've made decisions that you don't feel so good about.
Exactly.
That's the at-bat part.
Yep.
Right? So you had an at-bat, you had an opportunity to maybe push past someone who was doubting you, and you didn't. But the next time you had the opportunity, you did. So
Yes.
let's get, so you
Yeah.
didn't go to U of M, you
Didn't
went
go.
to Bemidji State, am I
Bemidji
right?
State,
So,
go
Bemidji
Beavers,
State.
yeah.
So I was thinking too, you know what? There's probably very few people who can say that they lived in El Paso and Bemidji
I know.
in their lifetime. Because like Bemidji is like, Minnesota's Minnesota, but Bemidji's like Minnesota, right? That is like, you're basically at the North Pole at that point. You can see Santa's house, I'm pretty sure. And so, so you've lived in all these different places and you've seen all the different extremes.
Yeah.
And now you're in Bemidji, Minnesota as a college student.
Yeah.
And so talk about that.
I had so much fun my freshman year.
Yeah.
So I skipped class. I
had
skipped
so
class.
much fun
I did.
breaking the rules.
And
Leadership. The more
I mean,
you know.
I'm not perfect, and
I love it.
I said that from the beginning. But so skipping class, showing up for tests, barely making it by.
Yeah.
My first semester. So like I said, I was on academic probation when I entered my freshman year. I ended up in another counselor's office the end of my first semester, and he told me the same thing I heard my high school year with that counselor my senior year.
So there you are again.
Yeah, there I am again, and he told me.
What did he say? Yeah.
So he had told me, Adriana, it's great to meet you. Pack your bags because you won't be here after next semester. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he said, looking at your grades from this first semester, you have to get all A's next semester in order to stay. All A's. That's not going to happen. So I just want to prepare you because I'm not going to be a counselor that's going to sit here and tell you you can do it if you can't.
Yeah.
I want to make sure you know that. And I think from his perspective, he was trying to,
for sure.
Tell me like what he honestly thought and trying to help me in some way.
And he was trying to let you down lightly. He didn't want it to be this big disappointment.
This big surprise that I was asked to leave campus.
Yeah.
So when I left his office, I had like an aha moment, and I told myself, no one will ever tell me again that I cannot do it.
Ooh, devil angel, you
Never
told that devil to go away.
I said, go away, like no thanks, you're too heavy, I can't handle you, But so I ended up getting all A's the next semester. I ended up going on the President's Student Commission and graduating with,
That's awesome.
Yeah, I graduated with a B average in college.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Wow.
Never again will anyone tell me no.
Okay, so that was a moment in your life you will always remember, and now that's a non-negotiable.
Right,
for
it
you.
is.
If somebody says you can't do it, you're going to say, come hell or high water, I'm going to figure out how to do it. Or I'm going to do my best to try, right, or whatever it may be.
And that is, I feel, what got me to the B, like the B average and being able to graduate college, was because I allowed myself the opportunity to fail.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
That's huge.
Yeah.
Totally.
So
And did you see it as like a bad thing? Like when you failed, or did you see it as like, okay, that's where I was in the moment, but there's an opportunity for me to grow?
It's like I had mentioned earlier, there's always opportunities for new beginnings. New beginnings.
Yep.
So I decided right then and there would be a new beginning. I became a residential assistant, an RA. My junior and senior year of college, met a lot of great I had a lot of great intercultural experiences with new people that just opened my eyes to how big the world can be and how many viewpoints there are, how many different types of experiences people have had.
Yeah.
And I don't regret it. I could have definitely, when I left his office, that counselor's office, I thought to myself, do I call my dad and just have him take me now?
Yeah.
Like, I thought about that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want him to be upset, like, a year of college. Why would I want to spend another semester here and pay all that money just to fail? Why would I do that? Let me just go home now.
Yeah.
But then I thought about that counselor in high school, and no, not again, because I got into those other colleges. Who knows if I would have gotten into U of M, but I didn't even try.
Yeah.
So
I think that's such a valuable lesson on wisdom. Like that word is kind of like leadership. Wisdom to me is like, that can mean 50 different things to 50 different people. But to me, wisdom has always been this idea of learning from your past, applying it to the present, so that you can be better in the future.
Exactly.
And that's exactly what you did. That's the wisdom that we can only gain through life, through experience, through at-bats.
Through failing.
Through failing,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yep.
Okay, So now you're doing well, like things that like you're feeling like your senior year of college is kind of like coming to an end.
Yep.
And now you're heading into this like real world situation.
Yeah.
So
talk
a little bit about that.
Sure. So I graduated college, became a manager with the Buckle. Was eligible. I was a manager in training. So what that meant is after a year, if I passed my exams, I could run my own $2 million store and have employees under me and be able to make a difference through leadership with that company.
Totally.
And there were aspects of that experience that really challenged me. So when I was about halfway through my manager training program, they had us get on conference calls with 12 other manager trainings, which are MTs. I'm going to call them MTs.
Yep.
And basically, they would pick random people on the conference call to answer a question in essay format or on what they would do in specific scenarios.
Totally.
So what would you do if your profits drop by 30% in a quarter? And you have to be able to answer step by step what you would do in order to succeed. And the only way I can like equate that with like kids in high school would be to imagine you're in a room, an auditorium, the auditorium downstairs, and the principal's standing up here in the middle of everyone with a microphone and says, okay, so this is the problem. You right there in the third row, answer my question. Come down here and answer the question.
In front of everybody.
In front of everyone. Like, you never feel so vulnerable about your intellectuality. Intellectuality? I don't know. Than you do when you have to prove yourself every week on these conference calls. So after a while, I decided, you know what, like I don't really want to work in the commission atmosphere. I want to do something else. So I was recruited by Target to be a visual merchandiser.
Okay.
And that's where I feel like my biggest challenges in leadership came, because my manager at the time told me, you know what, it's all about, like, okay, so when I became a visual merchandiser with Target, it was a brand new position.
Okay.
I had to mold what that was going to look like, what type of leadership style this role was going to have in this specific store.
So now you are really the leader of this new position.
Yes.
Okay, so your leadership skills are being tested in this sort of way. Create something out of nothing.
Right, and get people to buy into you.
To get people to buy into this nothing or thing that you're creating.
Exactly, which they don't believe we need to begin with.
Yeah. So you're right behind the 8 ball a little bit.
Yeah, so brand new to Target, and I came in and I tried to win the relationships over. Give and take for me was how I wanted to roll. So I would be in my manager's office week after week. Adriana, you're not making enough progress. You need to be able to manage this team and tell them what is going to happen. And I told him, I don't feel like this doesn't feel like me. Like, I don't feel like I can go in a room and tell people what to do. Point at them and say, go do that, you go do that.
Right.
I didn't feel like that was me.
It was a very top-down approach of leadership, of a command and control sort of style, it seemed like. And that's what they were pushing you to be, because that's kind of the model that some people have when it comes to leadership, right? Is a strong leader delegates, commands, and directs, right? And that's the sort of the guidelines that you were given to do.
Yeah, and it made me really doubt like how much higher in any company I would want to go, because if this is what a leader is, I don't want to do it.
Interesting.
I don't want any part of it, because I don't feel like I should be telling people what to do. I should be right there with them, doing it with them.
Yeah.
You know, earning their respect. And if I haven't done something, I'm not going to make someone else do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that just wasn't his philosophy.
Right.
Yeah, so I was up for promotion. I've been with the company for 18 months, and there was a human resources team lead position opening up to open a store in uptown Minneapolis.
Yeah.
A Target store, one of those small format stores. So I was up against a peer of mine who ran the front end, so like the cashiers and the cart attendants up front.
Yep.
She was very much so what my boss was looking for. Command, control.
Yep.
If I'm not on the clock, don't talk to me.
Yep.
You know, like my time is valuable, and if I'm going to talk to you, I'm going to be paid for it. So she invited me out for drinks one night, once we both knew that we were both up for the same position.
Okay.
And so I was like, finally, like, maybe I'll make a friend, maybe I'll be able, there I am, trying to make friends still,
again,
you know? So, I took her up on it, and I went out to have a couple drinks with her, because we both closed the same night. And that night, I got my drink, and she got her drink, and then she was like, so is your mom here illegal? And is she like an illegal alien?
Yeah.
And I'm like, and I looked down at my drink. I knew where this was going, and I'm like, I have this whole drink. I can't drink it fast.
Yeah, right.
You know, I have to drive home. Like, what am I gonna do? So I sat there while she asked me all of these questions around my heritage, and my mother, she asked me if I was an anchor baby. And at first, I didn't know if I was like, none of my family are sailors. Like, we don't we don't go in the ocean. Like, anchor. What do you mean?
Yeah.
So after I gathered around the context of what she was saying, what she was getting at. So what an anchor baby is when a woman comes here illegally and has a child in the United States to be able to stay here.
Yeah.
So that is their anchor to be able to stay. They can't get deported because they have an American child. So I was very upset, and in that moment, you know what I would have loved to do? Just throw my drink on her, and you know what? Bye. You know, but I felt like, in a weird way, I had to defend my mom.
Yeah.
In a classy way to make her not to make her fruitions not come to reality. To make sure that her ideas of Mexicans are ugly people, they have terrible attitudes, they're just terrible people in general.
Yeah.
I had to really hold myself together to not prove that, you know. And
I think of the Michelle Obama quote. This is when they go low, we stay high.
Yes.
They go low, and it kind of goes back to what you're talking about with your quote from the song too. Like, that steady road is not easy.
It's not, and in moments you really have to gather yourself and really think about your next move. What is it going to be? So I let her know, I'm sorry you think that way. That's not me. That's not my family.
Yeah.
Thanks for your time. I'm going home.
So you didn't confront her. You didn't obviously throw the drink on her. You didn't
no.
yell at her. You didn't. So then, what happened next, though?
I left, called my mom on the way home crying, and she was like, "Why are you still giving her energy?
Yeah.
Why are you still putting your energy into this woman when she's probably on her way home right now and like, wow, like that girl is rude, you know?" So. Went to work the next day, and she confronted me in an office and said, "Are you going to tell on me? Are you going to tell someone on me? Like, are you going to tell them what I think about Mexicans?" She had told me, because in our store, the cleaning crew was primarily Hispanic, so they didn't speak very good English, and she told me, when I hear them talk, I just want to shut them up. Like, I can't even stand it when they speak Spanish, and she had people on her team that were Hispanic. And so I'm just like, how can you lead people that you don't believe in? Like, how can you not believe in your employees, you know? So I had a lot to think about that night. So when she confronted me the next day, I told her, you know what? I told you what I think about it. Anything else work-related you have to talk to me about, go through my boss. Like, go through my executive team lead. I don't want to talk to you anymore.
Yeah.
I decided not to report her. And I still grapple with that every day.
I'm sure.
You know, and when I had done this speech in person, I was asked a lot of questions like, why didn't you report her? Why didn't you say anything? And she was a single mom, she had a child, and I was thinking about him. You know, I was thinking about her child, and what good would that be? I would just be proving her right and getting her fired. You know what? I'm gonna let her talk to me like this, and then it's going to make her reflect. Obviously, it made her reflect back on it. You know what I mean?
She approached you the next day, that she knew that what she had said, and maybe the intention, just from what I'm hearing, knowing that you guys are both up, was an intimidation sort of bullying sort of thing of like, you know, you're not as good as I am.
I still question it,
You know, so what I also think that the point is that oftentimes in those moments, sometimes what we think is the perfect move, or like what everyone else thinks we should do, sometimes it doesn't feel right to us. And as leaders, we have to go with our guts in that moment, and believe in ourselves and believe in what our voice in our head is telling us. And so in that moment, no matter what anybody else thinks you should have done, you made the choice that was right for you. Now, I think what everybody wants to know is, did you get the job?
I did.
Hey!
No, I did.
Awesome.
Yeah, so she had left the company shortly after that, and I think she was just waiting for the bottom to fall out right beneath her, so she just got out of there. And I was told right after she had left, like, you were, like, we didn't choose you because of her leaving. We chose you because you were the right person for the position. So,
for sure.
So here
It's
I
awesome
am.
to hear.
Yeah, thank you so much. So in that moment, it really made me feel like I made the right move.
Yeah.
I got to where I was trying to go without putting anyone down. I could have totally got her fired and been like, yes, that's mine, you know what I mean? But I really felt like she wasn't the right person for the position, and I trusted management to make that decision as well.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah.
So now is this kind of have led us to where you're at right now? And like, or is there more to remind me if there's more to the story?
So there is now, but at the time, So at the time, I am human resources team lead at the Target in Uptown.
Yep.
Yep. And there was a moment that I was able to practice my service leadership, and I had mentioned. It was the day after St. Patrick's Day, and someone had thrown up. We were downtown, right? So someone had thrown up in the bathroom everywhere, and it was like a chili cheese burrito or something. It was disgusting. It didn't look as good, you know.
On the other side.
On the other side of that, yeah. So I brought the team to the bathroom, and I was like, look in the bathroom, and they all opened it like, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not cleaning it. Not me. And I told everyone, I was like, right. And I told everyone, you know, you are all in luck. And they're like, what are you talking about? And I was like, I haven't had to clean up throw up yet being at this store, so I'm going to do it this time. And
whoa, what do you mean?
So I don't feel like I should tell someone to do something that I've never done myself.
Amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it's, for me, common sense, because I just feel like that's a sham, you know? Like, you can't make someone do something you've never done, and that, for me, included cleaning up someone else's chili and cheese burrito, you know? So,
But wait, that's not you pointing at somebody and telling them that they need to do it.
No.
But what about the employee that just started 2 days ago that, you know, is getting kind of hazed into the position or whatever it may be? Shouldn't they be the ones that clean up and do the dirty work? Like, why would it be the leader? I'm kidding.
I was like, you know what? Like, all the more for them to watch this moment. You know what I mean? I'm happy they got to see it 2 days in, because that is me from here on out. I will not make anyone do anything. I've cleaned up a lot worse things than that lately, you know, at my new store. So vomit is just nothing now. You know what I mean? But it was really great, because after everyone left, they're like, oh my gosh, thank God we didn't have to do this, you know? And one of my employees, Jacobs, stayed behind and said, hey, Adriana, I got it next time. And in that moment, I realized, even out of the 5 people that came over, 1 person connected with the message I was trying to send.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And that's all I needed.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
I just think it's important to reiterate and break down this myth that leadership is a top-down thing, and it's the person on the pedestal who's bossing everybody around and making all the commands.
Yeah.
And leadership, I mean, that can be leadership. There's different styles of leadership, but that's not the only way. And I'm sure there's a lot of people who go, you know what, that's just not me. It's not my style. It's not how I'm wired. And so talk a little bit about the specific type of leadership that you try to lead with. If you were to give it a name or a phrase or whatever it would be, what would you give it?
So I think there is a name for it already, and it's service leadership.
Service leadership.
Service leadership, yes. So
talk about that.
Yeah, so the first time I ever heard about it was, so Mr. Meyer and I, after I graduated high school, we stayed in communication, and when I was in that visual merchandising position with Target, and I was really grappling with the message my boss, my leader, was trying to give me in that direct and command aspect of leadership, I reached out to him and I asked him, Matt, Mr. Meyer, I don't feel good about this. I don't feel like I might be the right person for this. I don't feel like I'm adequate enough for this. I can't do this. This is how I want to lead, like this. And he was like, you know what that leadership style is called that you want to lead by? And I was like, no. And he's like, that's service leadership. That's a type of leadership. So to hear that it is an actual thing, it really it validated everything I felt, and it made me feel like I was on the right path. You know those moments in life that just happen, and it's just a sign that you're on the right track for yourself.
Totally.
It was that moment.
That's amazing. And I also like the phrase that keeps coming back to me, and Mr. Meyer's in the room, so I'm about to look at him, but like to me it's self-awareness too, of just like how important that piece is to being a leader, to know, hey, this isn't my style, this feels off, this feels wrong, square peg, round hole sort of analogy, and to be able to voice your opinion and say, is there another way, because I'm not feeling it here. Because there's a lot of people who play a role that they don't feel like, and we see this all the time, middle school, high school, like, people play the role that a tough kid or the mean girl, whatever it be, when deep inside that's not really who they are.
Right.
But it plays out even at the leadership level, in high school and even outside of high school. Sometimes you feel like you have to play a certain role or fit into somebody else's definition of what something should be. And so for you to have the self-awareness to go, whoa, that feels off. In fact, so off that I'm going to do something about it. I just think that's an important piece. And then the last word that I keep hearing in your speech when I read it, and then just from talking to you, is the word courage.
Right.
And how important that is as a leader, but also to know how important courage, like the self-awareness piece comes back to, how important courage is to you. There's 50 different people watching this. Maybe for 50 different people there might be another word, whether it's kindness or empathy or honesty or trust or whatever it may be. That's your word, is courage.
Right.
You're self-aware to figure that out. So I want to unpack that a couple ways. I want you to talk about courage and what it means to use courage as a leader, but then also talk about the fact that because courage was such a strong value to you, talk about how you leaned into that strong value in order to be a leader. So it's a lot to unpack.
Yeah, so when it comes to courage, I really do believe that that self-awareness you talked about is something that you need in order to be able to exercise your courage.
Yeah.
So in the moment when something seems scary or undoable, you have to have that self-awareness. Stop, think about this. What are my decisions? And then what will get me, where can I go?
Yeah,
like what will the results be if I go this way or this way? And I'm not saying like time out life, like let me do this. It's like a quick thought in your head about what is right, what's the right thing to do here. So
that self-awareness piece.
Yeah.
But then the courage comes in, because sometimes the right thing is not the easy thing.
Yes.
Let's go back to middle school.
Yeah.
You're at that locker.
Yeah.
You want to meet those girls. You desperately
Yeah.
want to make friends. You've never been lonelier in your life, and they present you with this option of the only way you can do that is to go against your values. It's easy to know, I think, in that moment, the right thing to do. It's hard to actually do the right thing, and that's where that courage piece comes in.
So I think the way my mind works is I see pictures of results. So, and that's, some people, they just have different ways to formulate thoughts in their heads, and mine come up as pictures. So I thought about it, and I said, if I did this, what would happen? And I just pictured myself homeless and in a corner and cold, and I was
an addict in the streets. Yes.
But in 6th grade, like that's just what. That's
where your mind
goes,
right?
So,
that scary visual.
Yeah, and I was like, I don't want to be a bum, and but I think that my courage sometimes stems from fear, sometimes stems from past experiences, in which avenue I go in. So courage is a very, complicated thing to talk about for me, because so many things influence why I'm encouraged, like why I practice courage in the moment. So these days, part of my development plan with my company is to practice being courageous, reach out for help more often, not feel like I have all the answers, and not that I should have all the answers. So
Courageous conversations sometimes of talking to somebody about maybe underperformance or something. That's not easy.
Well, talking about what's going on in the world right now too.
Yeah.
So, being from Minneapolis and when George Floyd was killed and when the riots happened and my store in Uptown was ruined from it, and I did a lot of introspective thinking, and that led me to reach out to my team members who were diverse, who came from those different experiences. And I talked to Mr. Meyer about this before I came here a few weeks ago, and I told him, you know, I really want to make sure that in your leadership class, they know that diversity is a good thing, and to be able to interact and connect with people from different backgrounds is so instrumental in leadership. But I honestly loved leadership in the beginning because I thought no matter where you come from, you can be a leader. And I thought, like, it's open for everyone, you know, and like diversity doesn't matter because you can be a leader as long as you have these skills. But I realized that was my privilege, and that some people aren't handed the skills like I was. Even if I have gone through all of this adversity, there are people out there that have seen way more adversity than I have and aren't able to have these experiences, like going to college. Took that for granted, you know, and some people can't. So I really think that being able to have courageous conversations with people from different backgrounds in you will help you open your mind up and help you develop more as a human being and as a person.
Totally.
So,
Unbelievable, for sure. And so, like in your, like when you like see courage in like your life right now and in certain situations as like you look back, like was there ever a moment where you look back and you go, and we've kind of talked about a couple, but you're in that moment and you thought, man, if I could have made a different decision, I didn't follow my heart. I didn't go high, I took the low road. Is there any experience that you can remember from your like middle school or high school years where maybe you went in the opposite direction of what your heart was telling you to do?
I'm sure there are, because I've made mistakes in my life, you know, and I would say it happened maybe in college. The one I could think about was like skipping class and doing all those things, and when I was taking those tests that I didn't study for, in that moment I'm like, what are you doing, Adriana? Like, this isn't you. Like, you at least study a little bit in high school, you know what I mean? Why are you even studying now? Like, this isn't you. So I've periodically in my life had those gut checks of like, this isn't where you're supposed to be right now, you know? And even just 10 seconds of courage can just help flip where you feel you're not in the right spot to feeling good about yourself again. But
it goes back to that self-awareness piece and knowing this is not who you are, this is not what you value. So just being very clear on the things that you value in life, whether it's courage or family or it's experiences or adventure or whatever it may be, knowing those things that you value and being aware of that. And when you're off, you can feel that, right? That's that gut check. It's like, man, I've been acting out of my values for a while. I don't know exactly why I feel the way I do, but it's not the greatest. And that time of just knowing what your values are and then realigning can really get you back on track. Okay. Okay, we have gone a long way. I would say this before we wrap up. Is there anything looking back your experience, again, it's going to overall, like any piece of advice maybe you wish you would have heard when you were a Panther mentor, anything you would just really want to impart, wisdom, leadership, experience, anything to anybody who's watching this right now?
Okay.
Your 2 minute message, you got it right here.
Well, I would say, and I've reiterated this in this conversation, but there is always opportunities for new beginnings. So if you don't feel right in this moment, if this isn't where you thought you would be, so let's say like in 8th grade, you're like, I want to be the popular kid when I get to high school. I'm going to be this person. Or I know when people go into freshman year, they believe, I'm going to reinvent myself. And now it's your sophomore year and you're like, I didn't do that. I'm stuck. I'm stuck.
Forever.
Yeah, and I just want to let you know that you can do whatever you want to do. And don't miss that opportunity I did to not apply to the dream college you have, to try to make all A's this year, to connect with your mentees, don't give up, but give yourself the courage to fail. And I think that you can go as far as you ever would want to go.
That's awesome. And it's through that failure, it's through having that courage that we are able to glean the wisdom that we need in order to make those successful decisions that we have every day in life. And those, they don't change. You know, I'm 41 years old. I have decisions that I still have to make every single day where my values are incredibly important. As a dad, I need to be a leader in so many ways. And I know that when I'm pointing and commanding and yelling and using my leadership in that way, it doesn't have as big of an impact when I sit down or I'm a servant leader to my kids. So listen, I just want to say I commend you as a human. I can't wait to hear more about where sort of life takes you, but I have the utmost confidence that wherever you go, you are going to make an incredible impact. So thanks for having this conversation. For all of you who are watching this right now, man, I hope you're able to glean some things that you're able to take away. I hope you guys have an awesome day. Any last words? Three. I love your face!